Kay Bailey Hutchison told me more than a decade ago that she found working in the Senate incredibly frustrating. At the time, there were only nine female senators. And you were there over that time. Did it get better before you left for women in the Senate?
I think it did. I mean, there were obviously more women, and what we liked to do was have our monthly dinners. We always said what we said there stayed there, but it was very informal. Just talk about anything that was on our minds, whether talk about families, events. Trips, anything that was going on. It's just another way of getting to know one another that you don't obviously have the opportunity to do on a day-to-day basis because our schedules are so demanding. But you build a rapport and a bond as a result, and obviously trust as well.
Have you maintained those relationships since you left the Senate?
Yes, to the extent that I can with, ethics laws and everything else, but I can.
Oh, ethics, schmethics.
Oh, my gosh, But I do, yes, I do, and they're wonderful. And I had the same relationships in the House of Representatives when I co-chaired the Congressional Caucus for more than a decade. So I've got to know women very well, and you do develop that rapport because you have different experiences, and at the same time that we're unique in the political system. Hopefully less so as time goes on, and that is true now. I well recall a former senator some years ago who came back to the Senate, and I asked him did he see any differences. He said yes. Most notably, we're seeing women on the floor of the United States Senate. Yeah, that's right.
At some point, the idea took hold that you could be effective outside of the Senate. I know that's hard when you don't have that elected office, that platform. What was your thinking about that, about leaving the Senate to be more effective vis-a-vis the Senate?
Well, I thought that I could use my voice to affirm what people's frustration and their deep-seated concerns about the direction of Congress and Washington in general about not grappling with the big questions and the big issues facing this country, not only in the short term but also on the long term. And sometimes it is hard to raise your voice above the din of the roar, even inside Congress, when you have all the outside groups. Obviously, play a major role today. I mean, there are those where the machinery of the polarization is used to perpetuate the status quo because it's in their interest to divide. And I think that we have to put the premium on bipartisanship and consensus. And since I had 3 decades in Washington and another, almost another decade outside of Washington, but in the state legislature, I had enough experience of 40 years to be able to tell people exactly how it used to work, what can be done to change it, and give voice to that frustration based on my own knowledge and my experience. And especially now, I think at this pivotal point and juncture in our country, I feel we're at a tipping point. I mean, we've got to make some very, the tough decisions in order to avert, some serious problems, not so long down the road. I mean, frankly, it's just a few years from now where if Congress and the President do not make these decisions on entitlement reform, for example, or taxes and so on, that is truly going to come home to roost in a significant way because of the looming debt and the changing demographics of this country.